Welcome back to Junction 119. This is Kellan.
This is Casen.
And this is James.
He's back, folks. Jim Nye, the baseball guy, for something like his seventh appearance on this show or whatever it is. We would have had him on here earlier in the year, but this will be the first time we've ever had him on for kind of a mid-season check-in when it comes to the baseball season. But he's here for some other topics. James, it's good to see you, my friend, our friend. What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing great, and Cason's got me inspired with his full gear. It feels like I'm getting ready to go to like a Lions playoff game or something. I'm excited about this.
He looks like he just came from a Stanley Cup
It
final.
does.
So I let me open the episode with saying
Yes.
I'm all decked out. This is I talked about it at the time when I got it. This is my Jonathan Marchessault jersey I got when he won the Conn Smythe for helping them
Yeah.
win their first cup in 6 years. And so I took this with me to Las Vegas last week. And so I was in Las Vegas for games two and three. So we watched game two in Raleigh on the television, and then I was in the city for the home win game three. I unfortunately left the morning of game four. So I blame myself for not being in the city on that one. Uh,
Yeah, but you're uncursed though because they won and lost while you were there, so it's kind of
yeah.
it evens out. I think. I think.
Yeah. So we got game five here tonight. We'll get to that later, but I also did want to open up the show with sort of a little bit of a show and tell situation
You
about my
you both can
experience.
because literally this is a Thursday we're recording this, and James was at a Tigers like blowout today, so we can kind of talk about both. So go ahead,
Yeah,
Jason.
yeah. So uh I will lead off with saying I think I talked about it a few months ago, but there are in Las Vegas, and I'm sure there are other places too, but they're prevalent in Las Vegas where I just was. There are these vending machines in the casinos that you can basically pay a set price. There's different tiers depending on the machine, and they're like kind of labeled and they're different prices. And then you get essentially there's options. There I saw one that there's options of a mystery playing card that I believe they're probably all signed to be worth anything. And then there's uh uh mystery Pokemon cards. There's
Oh,
and then
I
there's
know what you're talking about.
mystery jerseys.
I know what you're talking about.
And
I've
so
seen these
I
things.
I showed you the one that I have, I believe Kellen.
Hmm.
And so when I was in Las Vegas, my dad and I went to the back to that same one that he went to the first time, and we both got one, and he ended up getting, which it's actually very fitting, being he lives in Las Vegas. He got a signed Jose Canseco athletics jersey,
Wow,
Wow.
that's
which
sweet.
is we
Whoa.
we pulled that and we were like, that is incredible.
It makes me wonder how long that's been in that machine. Seriously.
Well, I don't I mean they're newer machines, so I don't think it's
Right.
from his
Okay.
playing
All right.
days.
I got you.
But it's actually kind of funny because my dad saw Jose Canseco play.
Yeah.
Uh, I think he said he saw it in Milwaukee.
Was he playing
But
for the Athletics?
I think so.
Okay.
And and
Was it the
and
game
and the
where he it hit off his head and went for a home run? Because that'd be a,
I'm not sure.
like a one
I'm
in a
not
million
sure.
if you were at that game. Like that's
But
incredible.
the one I got, Kellen.
Oh
Oh boy.
no! Wow,
Yo. Okay. You got a
wow,
Cameron
these are
Hayward
like
son.
sweet.
Wow.
They got good stuff in
So
there.
Yeah. No. Hang on. No.
yeah,
I have a follow up question. Like, is it a base price that you put into this vending
yes,
machine? Like,
yes,
what? Like,
yes.
if you don't mind asking, what that is? Like
So
range or whatever.
it is. I think there's ranges based on the tier of player.
Okay.
I think they're anywhere
That's cool.
from
I like that
I don't know,
idea.
like around 150 to I think maybe 300, depending on the tier caliber of the player. I think they're labeled like gold or silver. I think they're kind of labeled somehow over like the caliber they are. and the jersey itself, they're not like actual like game jerseys.
Sure.
Like nowhere on here does it actually say Steelers or whatever, but they're still clearly that design.
That's a really cool idea for something to have in a casino, especially if you just hit like a jackpot and you got like
Yeah.
$150
Yeah.
and you're not necessarily trying to, make a whole bunch. It's like, well, on my way out, it's like, oh yeah, I'll drop $100 in this machine and see if I get
Yeah. Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
guarantee.
I
That's
mean,
really
I'm
cool.
sure part of it is like in there, there might be some signed, maybe there might be some, a signed Curry or something, and it'll be in there somewhere. I don't know, but
But literally, like those two jerseys you guys pulled, that literally those are two Hall of Famers. So like, it's
yeah.
like
I mean,
well, okay,
I
one
would,
of them,
yeah.
one of them's not because of reasons, but
Well,
Hall of Fame caliber
well,
players. So I
yeah.
mean, I got it though. I mean, worth money, worth like actual
Yeah.
genuine authenticated.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
And then also, just since we're on the topic of jerseys, I thought I'd pull this out. Uh, this was on sale, and so I got that one from my wife, and so she also needed something that she didn't have, which was
Hey, there it is.
Oh, those are
there you
sweet.
go.
Is it the now question? Is there any player on that one, or is that
No,
just last
no.
year's? It's still cool. I mean, I love.
I
I
that was on sale for literally $50.
I
So
really liked and admired last year's City Connect for the Pirates. The ones I have this year are godlike. So I really love one this year. Very, very cool, Casen. I'm glad to, and also James, you're catching us like Casen just got back from a trip, and I'm about to go on a trip in a few days.
I've got
Oh.
so this is also a bag I got from the gift shop. I'll keep it brief, but I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to show this is the one of the official
Oh, the
pucks for the Stanley Cup.
mascots?
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
That's sweet.
I thought that was kind of fun.
I like
I love
that.
that. I also like the Knights mascot. What is it, like a snake?
It's a Gila monster. Mm-mm.
That's what it is. Anything else?
Um, yeah, I will
Casually,
show you.
yes.
Casually.
I just-
He's pulling
I
out
got-
like a
I got
bag
the-
of tricks. Like
Yeah.
this is incredible.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for him
yeah.
to be like, oh, I actually took the Stanley Cup itself. It's like right here,
Yeah, well,
actually.
He pulls out like a
actually-
hockey stick. And
Yeah.
that-
There it is.
Yeah. So there you go. There's that's from my adventure.
Very, very cool. Glad it was a good trip to Vegas. James, how was the Tigers game literally today, Thursday?
It was great. It was incredibly hot. It
Yeah.
just got hot like this last week. It basically hasn't even felt like it was summer yet until just now. But kind of on the point of Casen, so I've only been to Las Vegas, I think twice. One of the times I was there was it was during the Stanley Cup final between the Vegas Golden Knights and Washington Capitals. Was that the first season of the
Yeah,
That was
Knights,
the
by
first
way?
year. That was the
Yeah.
Flurry
Okay.
year. Yeah.
Yes. And it might have even been a game that Vegas won. But
So
and I was
that
at
ticket-
the watch party and it was
that ticket
incredible.
on my shoulder is from game one, which is the only game they won in that series.
Okay.
So it was a gentleman's
It might have
sweep.
been
They won
okay.
game one and then got swept after that.
Ovechkin finally won one.
I remember
yeah,
that-
that was. I was at the watch party, like outside the arena, and I'm like this is ridiculous. Like this is their first year. They're in. It might even been. I guess it was game 2 because they were up 1-0, and I'm just like, wow, like this is this is crazy. They're an expansion team, and they're up 1-0 in the Stanley Cup final, and now I mean they've had just an incredible. They've got it. I mean they're the most successful expansion team ever, basically.
Yeah.
They are.
I mean, and it's who knows how many more they could be adding to the total here pretty shortly. So
Well, in
it's
case, and if you
incredible.
want to, we can kind of haphazard this, and we can talk about the series so far. I know it's technically our second topic, but
Yeah,
I was
we
going to
can-
have
we
it
can
before.
swap,
Let's talk
yeah.
about that right now, and then we'll get into Sorsby, the NBA Finals, and then baseball. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, what have you liked so far? I mean, it's got to be interesting, the vibes there, because I mean, I mean, to be honest with both of you, kidding aside, because James, I texted Casen, quite frankly, that if the Knights win again, I'm going to be annoyed because this their expansion team and they've had all this. But to be completely honest with both you guys, I'm rooting for Jordan Stahl. I want to see him hoist another cup. This Carolina team is one that I've really enjoyed watching. It just so happens that Vegas is on the other side of the ice. So Casen, talk about it. Talk about
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
thing.
So I, what I will say, to lead off is it was honestly incredible to be there during this time because, and I've said this, I said this to a couple people so far, is the nature of this trip wasn't like a Las Vegas trip. I ended up spending a majority of the trip just at my family's house. I was on the strip for like maybe 2 hours total. Didn't gamble at all. And so
You go there like every year, though, don't you? Like,
I,
or try
I
to.
I've been there. That was my third time there.
Okay.
And I was there 3 years ago. But yeah, so I've been there a handful of times, and and so and I spent most of my time off the strip, and so what that allowed me to do was sort of experience it from like kind of the local perspective.
Mm.
And I was in and out of Targets a couple times, and I was in Smith's, which is their version of Kroger. And what I was able to see was, I mean, everybody was in Golden Knight stuff. Everybody was, there half the license plates you see are Golden Knights license plates. So it's like you can't say that the city isn't, a fan of their team. They definitely love the team. So,
Absolutely. And I would wager to think that I think that if we're just being honest, the three of us, they were all of these leagues were so hesitant to go to Vegas for the longest time, primarily for the gambling aspect
mhm.
of it, and maybe that'll transition perfectly into what our second story is going to be about.
Well,
But for a team to finally get there, I remember in us in college, all three of us thinking that Vegas. I was like, Vegas is really where the first expansion team is going to be in the NHL in like almost 2 decades. And honestly, I think that it could not have worked out any better for the city itself because if you're going to take an area that's not as used to, one of the four major sports, 4 to 5 major sports in the United States, there's no better way to get them immediately popular than them to be, championship caliber good. But
mhm,
there's no aspect of this that would have thought that this is their third finals appearance and this would be their
mhm.
second cup win in that amount of time. I don't know what that says about the other teams in the Western Conference, really, more than anything else.
Yeah, I think it definitely just says a lot more about the West of like it's it's very relatively it's like coming in with being a competitive roster immediately. It wasn't super hard to use the assets they were given in that expansion draft, um, with all the draft picks and things, to create a very good contending roster in a very bad Western Conference, particularly a questionable Pacific Division.
James, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, man, I could go a lot of ways. My NHL team is an absolute joke. I mean, but that's a good point though about the conferences because this is kind of a remarkable run by Vegas. I think they only had like 3 or 4 more points than the Red Wings, who didn't even make the playoffs, and it's because our division was horrendously difficult. I mean, Vegas to fire their coach, which I thought was like a dumb move, just because I like Bruce Cassidy and he won a Stanley Cup with Vegas, and I kind of just think that alone is like, okay, we're just gonna ride with them. But now, obviously, they look like geniuses having done it, getting all the way to the Stanley Cup final. And I mean, I think the Carolina Hurricanes, Rob Brendamore, I think is the best coach in the NHL, and they've had so many of these. I mean, they've been this good for like 3 or 4 years, and they just have lost early in the playoffs. And it's been, they play a different style with how good their defense is. And it's kind of been criticized as like, oh, no, you can't win in the NHL like that because they've had these early exits these last couple of years. But I think there's well a coached team, I think, in the league, to have the structure that they do and to have it be so prevalent when you watch them play. I mean, these last couple of series when they're playing the Flyers and the Montreal, it was like these weren't even fair contests. Basically, it was just the other teams could hardly generate a shot. I mean, they were going like full periods with getting like 1 or 2 shots, which I think is, transitioning to the final. I think it's amazing. I think it's a credit to Vegas with if all these goals that are being scored and how open the play is. It's just not how Carolina wants to play. And obviously they've been close games. All these games really could have gone either way for the most part. And I think it's the series so far has probably flown more in the way that Vegas wants to play it as
Yeah.
opposed to Carolina. Maybe last game was the first example, but then the 2-0 lead became nothing again, and it was kind of a toss-up game there. So I think Vegas has done this has been an unbelievable run, and I think the 4 games they've played here have been really impressive because Carolina wants to win like 4-1 or 2-0, and these games have been nuts, like all of them.
One little observation that I do have, and I got to give John Tortorella some props here. There's nothing if the man is good at if he's not great at throwing the most uncomfortable game at an opponent. Like he makes opponents so uncomfortable, and he makes just little adjustments of things that have worked 10 times out of 10 before suddenly don't work against the Tortorella team, and it's like, well, when you add when you take a loaded roster like Vegas and you throw them at them, this is the result. And I would agree, James, that I can see this going all seven. Casen, you probably won't like that, but I mean it's very much felt like that especially game two gave me that idea of, oh, every single game is just going to be an instant classic, isn't it? It reminds me of honestly, there aren't very many hockey series guys that have made me think about this era. But do you guys remember that period of time where, I mean, James would, you may not, Casen, but James would, when the Blackhawks and Kings were trading the West Finals every year for like a
Yeah.
4 year period. Every one of those series seemingly went 7 games, and every game went to like double overtime. That was like, and like the winner would win the cup. That's kind of like what I'm feeling this series could become. But we'll see. But Casen, what's your overall prediction or takeaway or
Yeah.
thoughts after going
So
there and coming back?
yeah. So it, all these games have been crazy, nuts, insane.
By the time you
Uh,
hear the show, by the way, Game 5 will have happened, correct?
yes, yes.
So yes, we won't talk about
And
that.
so what I will say is just sort of echoing sort of what James has said was I I at this point, I really I get the Bruce Cassidy decision. I mean, as much as I was like, why at the time, because I was like, this is really bizarre. If Bruce Cassidy was coaching in the playoffs, they would have bombed out immediately in the first round. Like, I think that's pretty clear and evident.
Mm.
And I said it on this show during the regular season. Of I was like, this team is too good to be this mediocre. Like,
Yeah.
and then they got Mitch Marner, and I was like, what like why are they not doing better? And Tortorella said it in an interview. I think it was before game 4. Um, was a it was either game 3 or 4. I when he got into that locker room, they just weren't like confident and motivated. And I think all three of us probably know enough about Torts to know that he fixed that pretty quickly.
Yep. He sacrificed a draft pick in the process, not
Um,
not doing media, and
Yeah,
we,
wow, that
we
whole thing
sat
was
here and we
crazy.
talked about that, James. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't want to
I don't
make a
know.
prediction either.
I will also I concur with something that James said was I was sitting there. It was during the second period of game 4, and I was like, Carolina has carried the play since the third period of the last game,
Mm.
and this is not what it was like outside of that fluke Shea Theodore overtime winner in game 3. Like it's been all Carolina for the most part, and so they need to fix that. I don't know. I don't know what they weren't really able, and then they were able to do that when they came back. And so they just need to, stick to what they do best and not let Carolina, I guess, run all over them.
take control. I mean, I think
Yeah.
talent-wise, Carolina probably is pound for pound the better team, but does that translate into 4 wins? Hard to say. I mean, the better team in terms of talent, but that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily always win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So
Yeah. So
tonight, Thursday night's game is in Carolina,
so
correct?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So what I
so
will say
mm,
is we had to lose game 4 in order to be able to win in 6 at home. So
okay.
we'll go ahead and win tonight, and then we can close it out in Vegas in game
Yes, who
6.
knows if our next show cover after this, guys, will be that ridiculous Knights win the championship, since the Knights are the only championship that one of our teams has seemingly wanted to win since the show has existed. So that includes your teams, James. That includes the Detroit teams.
Yeah, I don't think the Detroit teams are going to win anything anytime. So we can be decent on a given year, but we're not going to
Hey,
win a championship. That's the way it
that's
seems to
all
be.
right, James. The Knights will get Dylan a Stanley Cup next year.
Oh my gosh. Probably, yeah, honestly. Yeah. Yeah, what a crazy whole, I mean, I honestly there's so much to take from the Red Wings, but I can't blame Dylan honestly for uh probably views he has like 3 or 4 really good
Yeah.
years left, and the Red Wings haven't made the playoffs basically. They made the playoffs once his rookie year and then haven't since then. But yeah, Vegas was a team he wants to go to, certainly with Jack Eichel there, who he's good friends with. But yeah, the Red Wings are a dumpster fire right now. It's the thing that's so frustrating about, I don't want to I'll go on a quick tangent on them, is
Oh,
just
go ahead.
they've been pretty good the last 3 or 4 years, and each season's ended the same way, where they get into, for whatever reason, they get into March and they're in like really good position, and then they completely implode. I mean, it's remarkable. They've done it 4 years in a row, which that might be a knock on Dylan Larkin. Like, where's the leadership in the locker room every late season? And he didn't really produce, when he came back from the Olympics. But yeah, no, the Stanley Cup, I think this is going to be a great final 3 games. I'm going to say Carolina wins, just because they've had what I talked about earlier with them. They've kind of check all the boxes of a team that's like ready to win a championship. They've had all this disappointment. They've been good enough the last 3 or 4 years. They seem to be playing pretty well overall these playoffs, and they've won a couple of games in overtime, lost that game in overtime. I mean, that game where they're on 4-0 and came back is one of the craziest things you'll ever see. A team score 4 goals in the third period to come back. But I'll take Carolina, just because it would feel right in my mind that they finally get rewarded and win the Stanley Cup. But man, it's hard to, or it just feels like Vegas has already this like incredible pedigree of like this is nothing to them. Like, this is where they're used to being, and it's 2-2, and they probably feel pretty good about it. And so I think it could be a pretty great series here to finish it off.
Last thing I'll say before we transition for you, Casen, is that 2 of the greatest Penguins teams out of the 5 that won cups ever came when they changed their coach in the middle of the season. And it just went on to win, and we're amazing. So, sorry, James, that you were on the losing end of one of those teams.
Hey, I'll take
you
losing
beat
in
us the
the Stanley
previous
Cup
year.
final again. I'll take that.
That's true. So
Yeah. I mean, it's just the Vegas. I mean, hockey teams are notoriously like trigger happy with their coaches anyway. But it feels like Vegas is like Chelsea with their managers.
I was gonna compare it to soccer.
Chelsea's a
like,
good
they
one.
fire their
It's just
coaches
like a
all the
revolving
time,
door.
and then they just rehire these guys that have already been
Yeah.
coaches elsewhere. It's like,
we just need
all
a change
right.
of voice. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, and then they win
Although,
the next 2 games. Like, oh, this fixed it. Like, we're back.
I mean, the logic works. Like you hire Torts, and then he goes on to sweep the President's Trophy winner again.
Right,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of nuts.
It is nuts. Let's transition, because we want to get to a couple other things here. But the way we're initially going to begin our show was, I just really want to hear your guys' take on the Texas Tech Brandon Sorsby situation. This has been blowing up this entire year. Casen seems to be changing hats. He's switching to the Guardians hat. It means we're going to get baseball down the road here. We didn't talk about it all on our show at all, but long story short, Brandon Sorsby checked into rehab for gambling addiction. As he said, he's had many, many bets out. And I think most of the college sports landscape, I don't want to speak for everyone, kind of threw this under, okay, so his career's probably over. You might have kind of like been following this story from afar, might not, but you kind of were like, oh, okay. Should also mention he's transferred to Texas Tech after I think most recently at Indiana and then
He
Cincy
was
before
Cincinnati.
then.
He was at
Cincy
He was
before
Cincinnati
then,
last
then
season.
Indiana.
he was at Indiana, then Cincy, then Texas Tech.
So noted that he hasn't played it down for Texas Tech yet. That is like noted as well. But he was probably going to be their starter this year. Well, in waiting, I think most people were kind of like, okay, we'll bide our time and kind of see what happens. What it was. Well, like Monday morning of this week, essentially, and it's Friday by the time you're hearing it, a Lubbock judge essentially ruled that he's only going to get a 2-game suspension for this, and then he's good to go. And I got to be honest with you guys, it was kind of incredible to watch. It wasn't even overnight. It was like within hours. Every single crosshair that there was across sports, not even just college sports, everyone instantly hated Texas Tech. And it was crazy to watch in
Yeah.
real time.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
yeah, let me explain this real
That's
quick.
the
So
story. Go ahead.
I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the legal stuff exceptionally well, particularly with this case. But my understanding, and I mean either of you to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but my understanding of this is what happened was that I Brandon Sorsby fully 100% admits to betting on Indiana games as an Indiana athlete,
100%.
along with other things, but he 100% does not deny that.
Like made
However,
tons of bets,
and
basically.
and so and so
Lots of money.
that is just straight up a rule violation that the NCAA can hand him down a banishment for.
Already
However,
has. Yep.
however, what happened was he filed an injunction that basically says they can't do this because I will not receive these tangential benefits of being part of the Red Raiders program. And the judge, who I think is being misreported as like being a Texas Tech grad, it is still it is not a
I think
Lubbock.
it was originally going to be,
It
but
was
then he
going to
like
be,
acquitted
and then
himself.
the judge was a Texas Tech alum, and then he recused himself and went to
Yeah.
somebody else a ways away. But either way, this random judge in Texas granted the injunction, saying he would receive irreparable harm if he's not allowed to play, and the trial date is set for like 3 weeks after the championship game in February. And so I don't
didn't know
know.
that detail.
I
It's
didn't
kind of
know that.
hilarious.
There will be a trial in February. As of now, there will be a trial in February set to hear if he's actually violated these rules or whatever.
Wow.
And so they can come back in February and say, "Oh yeah, he's banned."
By the way, it was over 9,000 bets, totaling at least $90,000.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
it was,
wanted
like, it
to,
was a ton.
yeah, a lot of money. Wow. Okay. Let's get this out of the way right away. The precedence of the power that the NCAA has or seemingly ever had over its rules and enforcement obviously has been challenged this week. Everyone has made their point of like, you look really dumb if you ever self-reported to the NCAA, if you ever did this, if you ever did that. I don't necessarily agree with that take personally, but I will say this: the limitations of what college athletics has at its disposal to police itself is about to face its biggest test ever, at least in history that I can remember. Because when it comes right down to it, it's like because their AD has spoken this week, and there's been all this takes and all this stuff. And I will say that it's no secret what I do for work, but this is in no way has affected me. But of course, like anybody else, I everyone has opinions. I'm under the belief that personally, I would think that the NCAA rule needs to be followed, and like I wouldn't expected him to be able to play again, let alone play this upcoming season. But now you're seeing various conferences. The Big 12. This is a Thursday. We're recording this show. The Big 12 had like a president slash AD meeting like literally today discussing where that apparently got pretty heated. I would imagine so, understandably, especially with how defiant Texas Tech seemingly has been about this the last couple days. Um, but at the end of but I'm still just sitting here like, obviously this is still ongoing and not over, but
Yeah.
I'm still sitting here to you guys thinking to myself, yeah, but what more can be done? I mean,
So the additional developments that have come today
mm,
include Brendan Sorsby's attorney filing a letter to the Big 12 saying that they will sue the Big 12
mm.
if they retaliate against Texas Tech because the Big 12 again, I'm not an attorney. I don't know, but his phrasing in his letter is that the Big 12 is part of the NCAA and therefore beholden to this ruling that the NCAA was handed. There are certain people who disagree with that opinion because they're not. And
The schools are, but the Big 12 itself like really isn't. It's sort of like a
yeah. So well,
yeah,
they're
it's
saying that like that well, the larger thing was the Big 12 was not a party in that lawsuit.
ah,
And no and so a party not in the lawsuit can't be held to the standard of an injunction they weren't named in.
that makes
And
sense. I
so
see.
and so he's trying to say that because they're affiliated that they're obligated to it's questionable. But at the same time, I don't know. And so I don't know what would end up happening though if like they do end up playing and then immediately after he's ruled ineligible in February, they go back and then post vacate every win that Texas Tech had.
Well,
I don't know.
well, my point is
It would be very funny if Texas Tech then goes on to win the championship with Brendan
it's
Sorsby.
it's not just football though. I mean, the Big 12 schools and the Big
Yes,
10 are
yes.
said they're polling other college
Yep.
sports and there's things of that nature. James, you want to weigh in on any of this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing there's a lot of things that are crazy to me about this, but the reality now that really nothing really that gets decided is real because you just need to find basically a judge that will agree with something and it gets changed. I mean, the other thing I kind of compare it to is all these guys like that have like technically played in the NBA that now have like
Mm,
eligibility for college basketball now. It just seems like there's all this stuff that just wouldn't even be viewed as possible that can just like easily get overturned and then they're like the NCAA just can't do anything about it. So I don't know, like the when I saw this stuff of and this was I knew this quarterback just because he was the Cincy quarterback against Bowling Green last year, and he
yep.
was really good. Like this is he was like if not the number one quarterback transfer, like definitely one of the most coveted. And Texas Tech was a team that went to the college football playoff last year and is spending a crazy amount of money on football and really wants to win a national championship. So this quarterback, honestly, like this is their chance to win a national championship. I mean, if he's not eligible to play, I don't think they have anyone that's on the caliber of how good Brendan Sorsby is. But when I like saw this stuff of he's gambling on game like his own team's games and like I just thought that was just like an automatic like yeah like he's never playing like maybe he can the NFL like that's a different story but he's definitely not playing college football again so
Yeah, I think
not
people
shocked.
assumed that he'd just go to the supplemental and like,
Yeah, which
yeah,
and I think that's another element to this because like
You'd like
maybe
Terrell
he does
Pryor.
just get to play, but like he's also kind of risking, like he may probably should maybe just go to the NFL supplemental draft because yeah, he should be fine from I guess from a NFL standpoint, even though it wasn't that long ago where like gambling on sport, like you just can't do that. That's like an automatic like Pete Rose, all
Hmm.
these guys that you can name that just like they're
I
done
for
because of all
reference,
this.
while he was on Indiana's roster, he
Yeah.
was betting unders on Indiana passing yards.
Yeah, it's just like crazy. So I can't comprehend it. It's like
Which
crazy to
So
me. But
I don't remember who the quarterback would have been at that time,
I
but
gotta say to
yeah,
you guys,
betting the under on your teammate
Is this whole thing not the most 2026 story ever?
It
Yes,
is.
From
yes,
from
Yeah.
the
it
from the
Yeah.
really is.
inception of it, from the when the news first came out to now, like the way around it. I mean, and it's ongoing. I mean, I would say
Yeah.
that this is
So
easily. Go ahead, go ahead.
I also want to go into some further details too
Sure.
about just
Yeah.
about the context of this because this whole thing is getting to the point where it's absolutely insane. So Texas Tech, I not to disagree with you, James. Like I don't think he's bad, but like he's a very high mid caliber player. Like he's not a Heisman quarterback. He's
He's got a
like
high ceiling
he's
potentially.
like
I don't think he
okay.
has an NFL future, but like I'm
He's
pretty
he's
sure like he's
okay.
like one of the most he's the most
He's
like
probably
coveted
the yeah.
quarterback
He's
transfer.
like the best Texas Tech could probably get. But like my point is, Texas Tech is ruining their entire reputation for this guy who admitted he did what he's being accused of doing. Like I do not understand this. Like as a university, the president, the athletic director, their top booster is like raging
They're all
scorched
quadrupling
earth.
down. Like
Like
I have to respect them for what for quadrupling down. It gives
it,
me heralds of our last show, James, which was the
so
most hated but respectable draft.
something else that's very funny to me in this is um I not to get too political in this, but the Attorney General of Texas is a guy named Ken Paxton who's also running for Senate.
Mm.
He issued a statement saying that as the Attorney General in Texas, he would sue the Big 12 if they do anything against Texas Tech. Ken Paxton is also has been accused of many crimes as Attorney General of Texas. He's in the middle of a divorce with his wife. Um, he's also he's very unpopular in Texas, along with running for Senate. And so my question is, how many voters in Texas are not Texas Tech grads compared to how many are?
That's a good point.
Because like if you as the Attorney General are siding with Texas Tech versus Texas Christian, all the Texas fans that hate Texas Tech, like I'm very curious about that politically. Just to leave that
Well,
there.
I will make one comment and then we can kind of move off it. But um, I that could go either way. It could be like a oh he's helping Texas Tech, but it's also sort of like a yeah, but would he defend any Texas school? Like if this was Texas in the same situation, TCU, and you know what I mean?
That's
Like
potentially,
you
yeah,
see what
that's
I mean?
fair.
It could go either
Yeah.
way. I mean, it really could. That's for the poli sci folks out there to
But
figure out.
but I don't people
Um,
don't think that way though. But
my right.
anyway, the larger question though is the interesting thing of note that I believe is a true fact that Texas Tech is pointing out is that they're blaming Cincinnati, also a Big 12 member, because
True.
in August of 2024, Cincinnati was notified that Brendan Sorsby's name came up in their software for betting things that they got a notification in their compliance department that said Brendan Sorsby created an account on Prize Picks and was doing
That's
things
why I
on
said
that.
the game against BG should be forfeited and
Yeah.
Bowling Green
And
wins.
so
He
and
should have
so
been
I
ineligible.
the thing was that as what Cincinnati has said, I don't know, if there's anything else to this, but what they said it was at the time nothing was bet on. He didn't do anything. He just tried to get he said he was looking it up and looking into it. And so they referred him to education about gambling, and then it was just kind of referred to assistance, and then kind of the case was closed. Like nothing really came of it.
There's kind of
That
this
was
funny, off what you're saying, there's kind of this funny meme I always see where like when some team's quarterback is just really bad, I like see a tweet of like it's like some gambling account signing up and it'll put like the quarterback's
oh
name and be
yeah,
like
yeah,
whatever, Brendan
yeah,
Sorsby
yeah,
at
yeah,
gmail.com,
yeah,
like
yeah.
trying
No,
to say like our
yeah,
quarterback's gambling, like kick
yeah.
him off, kick him
It,
out of
it,
the sport.
yeah, yeah. It'll be like Brendan Sorsby at uc.edu. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I bringing it to a kind of a serious close here. I think we should all put a microscope on this. It's ongoing because ultimately what happens this is the kind of story like when I was in the office over at Gardner Webb a few years ago where we heard about the Pac-12 deal not going through and then by the end of the week the Pac-12 was gone. It was like I'm exaggerating, but it feels like things could move so fast as to like there's a CBS article I saw yesterday that I'll read the headline. Texas Tech's decision on Brandon Sorsby threatens to throw a live grenade into the college football powder keg. Is that not
That's a
what this
great
feels like?
headline.
That's a great
Yeah,
headline, right?
that
Because it's
is
sort of like
accurate.
what happens with this could set a new precedent, and folks need to be very, very careful about that precedent. Um, that's all I'll leave it there. You want to comment?
I I'll just end it with it does frustrate me that in the midst of this sort of absurdity circus that is going on with sort of the situation, what's being lost is the fact that there is a kid who ruined his life with a gambling addiction, and every person in power around him is lying to him so that he can win them games.
I would agree with that.
And so I feel for him as a person because it's very clear he has not received the help he needs. And I think that's just very unfortunate for everybody involved.
I would also add, Casen, that that's like getting totally lost in this narrative. That's like totally
Yeah.
lost in the That's like the last thing anyone wants to write about. But that is very true, what you just said. James, you want to close out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just seems like that's at the highest level of college athletics. All that matters is winning. So this is another example of, yeah, this is totally ridiculous. And like this kid probably shouldn't play and we should probably focus on getting him help. But hey, if we do that, we might not win a national championship. So forget literally everything else and let's just worry about getting him eligible because that's all that matters. And it just seems like that's what all these schools want to do. They're going to pay millions of dollars for their roster each year, and guys are going to leave after a year. And but if they can help them win a national championship, that's all they care about. So it is. I agree that is a sad reality of this, but all that matters to them clearly is trying to win.
So we'll keep our eyes on that. We'll have future conversation. And James, quite frankly, separately, I'll be interested to hear your take on all this as we see going forward. It is ongoing, so let us know your kind of thoughts about that. I do want to shift to the NBA Finals, and then we'll close up with baseball today. I got to tell you guys that the NBA Finals this year. So I've done something I haven't done in a long time. I've had every game on or been watching every single game so far. This has been a really fun NBA Finals for me. In the vein of as interested as I could be, Case, in a finals without having literally one of my teams in it, like yours is right now in the Stanley Cup final. But as things sit, we're recording this again on a Thursday. On Wednesday night of this week, the Knicks pulled off the biggest comeback in the history of the finals for sure. Is it of the playoffs, you guys?
I heard the announcer just said
I don't
of the
know.
finals, but
Yeah, I think
I mean,
I think it's
yeah,
the
it's
finals.
insane.
Yeah, something like 54 to 20 something in the first half, and then of course the final score. I'm pulling this up. I swear every single one of these games has been like the same score. Whenever the Knicks have won, it's been like 105 to 104.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say.
I think it was 107, 106.
107, 106 finally last night. But
I think they
you
were down
guys,
29 points, maybe
Yeah.
is the official number
Yeah.
that they were down that made it the record. And it was
go
the
ahead.
crazy thing too about it is I don't know what it was at the start of the fourth quarter or even like, 10 minutes left, but it wasn't like something where they just kept whittling it down and it was, oh, there's a quarter left and they're only down 10. I mean, I think they took the lead for the first time with like a minute to go. And then that crazy
Yeah.
sequence there at the end where the Spurs then took the lead off the free throws and it looked like they were going to win, but Fox went for the layup and got blocked. And then, probably, I mean, if the Knicks win the championship, that OG Anunoby tip in play is like up there with like the greatest plays in New York sports history. I mean, that'd be
Maybe
like
NBA
the Jets,
history.
like doing something crazy and winning a Super Bowl. Like it's
Yeah.
just
Especially considering you had
unbelievable
Brunson.
play.
Brunson goes for the three over Wemby, which already tips off, and then he gets it. Go ahead.
I saw somebody say that Josh Hart owes OG dinner for life because nobody remembers that he messed up that layup.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he did. He did. He absolutely
Nobody's gonna remember that.
that's
True.
always so awkward when it's like a guy doesn't know if he wants to dunk it or lay it up. So ultimately he does neither well and it doesn't go in. Like,
Yeah.
James and I have seen plenty of that happen. But it's like, it's I agree with that. Everyone's like, oh, that ends up not mattering and everything. It's not lost on me, specifically talking game four, how scared it seemed and deer in the headlights the Spurs seemed, because a great comeback cannot happen without us also talking about a monumental collapse.
Yeah,
Casen
I haven't totally seen all of the games because I was traveling and not able to watch all the
Sure,
games.
sure.
I believe the Spurs technically blew a lead in every game, right? They were
All
up to some degree that then they
Each game they've lost to the Knicks, they've blown a lead. Yes,
I think they blow leads in the game. Like they were up like 11 and then ended up only winning by like I think they were up more
They
than they
easily could. They could have
yeah.
like won the series already. Honestly,
I would agree with that.
like
Yes,
not
So
like
I
that should have happened that way, but yeah, like game one, I'm pretty sure they were up like 10 late and kind of blew it, and then obviously game
yeah.
two was at the end. Even like Wemby had the buzzer beater that if he would have made it, they would have won. But
they
then
would have
even
won.
before that,
Yep.
he had the crazy turnover where the dude looked away at the last second, and then they turned it over. And then yeah, this game it looked like it was. I mean, talk about an insane like obviously it's a crazy comeback, but it was looking like the Spurs probably felt like they should have won at least one of the first two games, and they lost both. And then they go into game three, which was like the craziest hyped game ever, and the
Hmm.
Spurs come out of it with a win, which you can't put on 3-0. And then there looked like it was a foregone conclusion that they were going to win game four, and everyone would be saying like, "Oh my, like the Knicks are gonna blow it, like they can't win a championship," all this, and then they pull off an insane comeback,
And
and now we're up three
I
one. But I mean, the
I gotta be
Spurs
honest.
got to be feeling like, man, like, and maybe that I don't think it's over honestly because of that.
I
I
would
think
agree with
they
that.
feel
I would
like they
agree
could for
with that.
sure win game six at home, and they feel like they're good enough that they could have won any of these games. So. I don't think it's over yet, but obviously it's going to be 3-1 feels very tough.
Go ahead, Kason.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I guess, sort of describe my experience watching the game. So like, it felt like, obviously coming off game three, Knicks fans wanted to sort of, come back with the win for game four. And then that all immediately deflated immediately with that cat situation at the very beginning of the game. And then like the
Yeah.
vibes were off for the entirety of the rest of the half. Like it was like immediately once that happened, everything was all sort of thrown off and it was just kind of like whatever.
They hit a three to
However,
go down like 30, and Taylor
yeah.
Swift was acting like they won the Super Bowl, and all the Knicks fans were like all pissed off because they're like,
Well,
why is she dancing? They're down
well,
30 and like the season's
here's
over. Like,
here's my thing though. What on that, I never thought the Knicks were out of it ever because I saw them do that to the Cavs.
You did watch the Cavs games, yeah, when they
And so
pull those,
down
yeah.
down 29,
yeah, game
I was
one
like
of that
I was
series was
like there's
insane.
still plenty of time left. And then once I kind of disputing what you were saying, James, not to do that though, they were chipping away. It was slow and
Yeah,
then
they were.
it kept getting back up to
But
15
then
and
they were still
17.
down like 20 at one
But
point. Like,
it what it was it was the vibe shift. Was once it kind of got down under 20 consistently and then they were getting it
yeah,
down to 15 and they were staying competitive and
the
fighting.
fans definitely
The,
stayed
the
in it.
fans
Like,
the
you're
fans
right.
got back in it
Yeah.
and people were dunking on Taylor and her friends dancing, but that's what got the fans back into it. And
I
so I'm
real
just
quick,
saying.
real
I'm just
quick, I
saying.
just want to point out that there's no two bigger Taylor Swift fans I know in my life than the two of you guys. So I
Like
just
you get Taylor Swift like turned into a legend basically. If the Knicks win, like
more than a
they were
legend than
showing her
she
so
already
much, and
is.
everyone was like gonna make fun of her because like she kept freaking out, and the Knicks were down like 30.
Well, I mean, she's probably watched more sports in her life over these last like 3 years than she had ever in her life on the regular. But to be fair, aside from this, I think if you are a Knicks fan, like a diehard Knicks fan or just a casual fan, when it gets like under 8 minutes, especially this playoffs, the Knicks hit like a fifth gear, a sixth gear, a seventh
Yeah.
gear, and it just seems like, oh snap, and it almost looks like something snaps in their heads, like, oh, okay, it's time to switch it on, and. What
Yeah.
really, you could really see it in real time in game four because I'm watching and I'm thinking to myself, okay, they're chipping away here. When it sunk to about 12 points, I'm like, the Spurs better be careful here. Like I'm like, they need like just some quick buckets, some layups, some cool things. They keep jacking up threes.
Yeah,
And it's
and
like, okay. And then when it dropped to 9 points, I was like, okay, now the Knicks got them. Like I thought like, okay, like if they
Yeah.
make it a single point game, like a single
Yeah.
digit lead, then the Spurs are in serious trouble. And it almost seemed like the Spurs didn't seem to realize how much trouble they were in right
Yes.
away. And then the lead
Yes.
was gone.
Which
and it was like,
which was so
oh,
it was
Knicks
so
win, I guess.
bizarre to me.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre to me because
like you guys don't seem to have any urgency here. Like, come on.
What is the Mitch Johnson? Is that the Spurs coach's
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
So he was actually preemptively like taking timeouts when they were bringing it down to like 20 and 17. Like at the beginning, he was doing that, but then once they went on that run where they were just jacking up threes and then they just kept missing and the lead shrunk, he stopped doing that, and I don't know why. I do not understand.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I was just like, they should just drive with Wemby every play and get a layup. Every single play, get a layup. Like, they just need to protect the lead.
Well,
and
Cat was in foul trouble the whole game.
Right.
Yeah,
and he was. And that's the thing that I really felt like, okay, like, if you're the Knicks, it's like, we kind of got him right where we want him. And
yeah,
so was the result.
Well, and so this is the thing is kind of like what James was saying about the Hurricanes. That's the Knicks. The Spurs are so young, and even Mitch Johnson's so young and inexperienced. Like, this isn't Pop coaching the Spurs anymore. So like, this is a very
this
young
is like
nucleus.
the youngest team ever.
Yeah.
This is incredible that they're this
It's a young nucleus who will probably be here again next year.
Yes.
But this is the Knicks who have spent years being brutally abused by Tom Thibodeau, and now they have Mike Brown, who's able to just sort of
not to mention the Dolan family, but
and the Dolan family. And so now they have Mike Brown to just sort of give them what they need in the moment. Because I heard it was reported that, like, sort of at halftime, Mike Brown didn't really say anything. He just kind of was like, "You guys know what needs to be done," and just kind of let them figure it out. And they just kind of went over to each other and we're just kind of like, "Hey guys, we get back to Nick ball. We know what we're doing." And he was like, "These guys are adults. Like they can figure out how to fix what they were doing."
And get out there and play basketball.
Like,
yeah.
And so sometimes, it is what it is. And then you have, Jalen Brunson going nuclear again.
Go ahead, Jim Nye.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a crazy run by the Knicks because I don't know how you guys have felt going into these playoffs, but it seemed to me that almost it was a consensus that everyone was like, the West is 100% going to win the championship, and especially when it got to the Spurs and Thunder. And I say that because it really, the Pistons played the Knicks last year in the playoffs, and it was a 6-game series. I felt like the Pistons easily could have won that series. There were a bunch of games that came down to the wire. There was a game where they shot a game-winning 3 and got tackled at the buzzer, and they didn't call a foul. If you would have told like the Cavs fans or Pistons fans, like, hey, all you have to do is beat the Knicks and you're going to win the NBA championship, I don't think any of those fan bases really would have believed that. Especially from like a Pistons perspective, like you were a number 1 seed. Like I said, you lost to the Knicks last year. All you had to do was beat the Cavs, who, tough matchup for the Pistons. Going into that series, I didn't look at it like, the Pistons are for sure going to win. I thought it'd probably be a 7-game series. But just to the point of the Knicks, like, this is kind of remarkable that they're now they're up 3-1 in the finals, and have kind of just had full control. They go to San Antonio, win the first 2 games. It's just
everyone thought that the Spurs
door for a while.
Everyone thought the winner of that was going to win the finals.
Like, I had
said
no
that
confidence
on the show.
that the Knicks. I didn't think the Knicks would maybe even beat the Cavs. Like, I didn't think that highly of the Knicks. Like, the Pistons owned them during the regular season, which total difference. The NBA regular season, the playoffs, it couldn't be more night and day. But I didn't think the Knicks were this like, yeah, this is the year they're going to get it done. And
Didn't think they had it in them, quite
out.
frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, I said it on this show when the Knicks killed the Cavs. So I was like, all right, well, I guess have fun getting killed by
by
Yeah,
the
I still would have
Spurs.
thought I'm like, yeah, like Spurs and four. Like, Spurs and five.
What I actually will amend is I didn't entirely think about the matchup in totality. I think the
They
Thunder
got a break playing the Spurs. I think the Thunder would have been way harder
I
for
think the
them to
Thunder
play.
would have beaten them.
I agree.
I think the matchup with the Spurs
They've gotten
benefited them.
they've gotten so lucky, the Knicks.
Yeah.
They played the Hawks, and then they would have lost to Boston, I bet. They would have been gargantuan underdogs against Boston, and somehow the 76ers beat them, and then they got to play them, and then, I don't know, a lot of people didn't really believe in the Pistons, but they avoided the 60-win 1 seed that basically won all 4 games in the regular season by like 15 points against the Knicks. Thanks. So, I mean, this is to win a championship.
The best matchup they could have
you got to have everything break your way, and they've played incredible, and they've had the perfect, absolute, couldn't have scripted a more perfect path to get it done.
I will say, if Greg Popovich is the head coach, this series is at least 2-2. Personally,
I agree.
Well, I think absolutely this series is at least 2-2 if that's the case. Just showing the right levers would have been pulled. Shout out Coach Pop. We all love Coach Pop. But as a fan of an East team myself, I appreciate both of you guys being like, yeah, man, this Knicks team.
It's disgusting. I still hope they blow. It would be hilarious if the Knicks lost the series, which I'm not putting it past them, because I still think the Spurs have some better play in them. And
I want it to
like
go
they
7 games.
Should be 2-2 here, but
I want it to go 7 games just because I think by the time that the ratings are all done, no matter who wins this, I think this is going to be one of the more watched ever in the history of the recent history of the NBA Finals. And say what you will about the NBA in general, they've clearly figured this parity thing out. I mean, this is like the 5th new champ, like the 6th new champion in 6 years or something crazy. Yeah. The super team era seems to very much be gone. At least for right now.
Well, just you wait. Just you wait.
No.
Sources say.
No.
Last thing I'll say about this: the NBA couldn't be more rigged. The Pistons had the #1 odds in the Wemby year. We should have had Wemby, and we would have been a unbeatable juggernaut because we already had Cade. We would have been unstoppable. But the NBA was like, no, we're going to pull a repeat history of the Spurs to where they were bad for 1 year and got all these draft picks to get Robinson and Tim Duncan. No, we'll give them Wemby the Wemby year. We'll say they win the lottery that year. So incredibly rigged.
I agree, James.
Should have went 82-0 this year with Wemby and Cade. And the NBA just had it out for us. They didn't want the Pistons to be good.
The 82-0 game, if you know what we're talking about. Yeah, 82-0
Pistons
game.
would have pulled that off in real life
Pistons
if they had Cade and Wemby. No doubt in my mind. 82-0.
The alternate history 2025, 2026 Detroit Pistons with Wemby.
That was like the last time, Kellan knows really probably more than anyone my history with the Pistons, and I really tried to get in the Pistons were so bad for like 20 years, and I still try, they could be like an 8 seed. I convinced myself to get into it. I remember the Wemby lottery. I was at a bar with my friends. I typically wouldn't even do that for an event, but it was such a big deal to have the #1 odds the year Wemby was coming out, and we dropped from 1 to 5, and I just was that was like my last straw of the NBA. I'm just like, okay.
That was a melt. That was definitely a James meltdown. I remember.
I'm done with
I remember
the
IG story. I remember texting you in the coming days.
Yeah.
I was like, this man used to refresh Tankathon all the time.
That's brutal for you, James, because Batman also does that to the Red Wings.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We have the worst lottery luck in history. Any year we have the #1 pick, we always fall to number 5. I'm pretty sure I don't think the Red Wings have ever moved up in the history of the lottery.
I don't think they have.
I think we got Cade. We had the #1 odds. We were the worst team in the NBA for like a decade. We had 1 year where we finally had the odds go our way, but not even. We were just expected to get it. Every other year, we've fallen from like 1 to 5, even the Pistons, like multiple times in this era. We had the #1 odds for Paulo Banchero year as well. Like we could have been incredible if we were like the Cavs, where they just kept getting the number one pick, like Kyrie, LeBron, all these guys. We would have been even some of these other teams that hit the Sixers got all these number one picks. If we were that bad for like 2 decades, we just
Hmm.
did not have the lottery luck at all. We could have been incredible, basically.
Last piece I'll say is that I appreciate that anytime on social media that anyone complains about the lottery, there's like 5 Detroit fans in
Oh
the
my gosh.
comments saying, "Now,
Yes.
hang on a second, you have no
Yes.
idea." Like that actually happens. Like I see like Pistons fans and like I see memes and stuff of like the Red Wings logo and all that stuff, and I'm like, "Yeah, this is kind of garbage." I will say, the Blue Jacket fans also
Yes.
have a bone to pick with the
I agree with
NHL,
that.
well, without question. But we're gonna
Shout out to
wrap it
Zach
up with
Werenski
we're gonna
winning
wrap it.
the.
Yes.
He's
We're
great.
we're gonna wrap it up here with some baseball talk. Our James Nahikian, Jim Nye, the baseball guy, is our resident baseball expert to educate us when we want to sound smarter about baseball in general. I will say that I would hope that both of you recognize all three of us are wearing our main teams here, though I do love the O's a lot still. I'm proud to be wearing this hat this year. That's a difference between
Yes.
last
Go
year when you were
Pirates,
actually
go.
here on this show last year, James. I will say that to start things out, I really feel like that while Detroit's had a rough shake as of it lately, especially with Tarek Skubal's injury, um, Tarek's coming back this weekend, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pitching Saturday against Cleveland.
That's big time, especially 11-0 victory today for Detroit. The season's long far from over. So, and you and I are, we know what life in our respective centrals is like. Uh, this year, the NL Central's looking more like the AL Central, quite frankly. Who knows? Everyone thought, it was going to be Cubs, Milwaukee, and it looks like while Milwaukee's still at the top, it's kind of anyone's game. Um, I'll let you guys kind of take this any kind of direction. James, you can kind of talk to us about some takeaways you've had early in the season here, and then we can kind of predict
Yeah.
division winners and who we think maybe will get out by the end of the show.
Yeah, I mean, just touching on the Tigers, really,
Hmm.
up until the start of June, I would classify this season as a complete disaster for the Tigers. I mean, from their quality of play to they've probably been the most injured team in baseball, I think. I mean,
That's what I
they've
was going to
had
say. Yeah.
basically their entire rotation has been out. Most notably Tarek Skubal, but also Reese Olson and Jackson Jobe, who would be kind of top of the line guys, both out for the season. They've had Casey Mize, who was an all-star last year, has missed about half the season. A lot of their key bullpen guys, and then some pretty notable names in the lineup too that just got back. But Kerry Carpenter and Gleyber Torres have missed most of the season and just got back in June. But more than that, they just haven't played well on top of it. And they last month, May was really the disaster for them. They were in first place, I think, going into that month. They'd kind of been hovering around 500 the first 30 or 40 games. But in May, go, I believe, 6-22, which is horrendous. And to put how bad that is into perspective, they've already won more games this month because they're off to a 7-2 start this month. So
Wow.
6-22 last month, 7-2 this month. And unfortunately, that's, they always say you can never, win a championship early, but you can certainly lose one. And they've dug themselves a pretty big hole. And really the complicated part to it is, Tarek Skubal's impending free agency, which, I think most Tigers fans, certainly myself, probably would have said for years now that this would probably be his last year on the Tigers either way. Unfortunately, just with the way that he wants to go about it, Scott Boras is his agent and their entire game plan, and they've been as, set on it as you can possibly be, is we're going to go to free agency, and we think there's going to be a bunch of teams that will bid for him and give him a pretty insane number and to hit free agency when he will. But now they're in a point where they're 5 games I think out of a playoff spot, which luckily the AL has been largely pretty horrendous, and they just they had a good little stretch here, so they've run it down a little bit, but they kind of have to the deadline to get in a more favorable position, which I don't think would be insane, over a 6 to 7 week stretch? Can they go from being 5 games out of a wild card to, in a wild card or a game or two out? That wouldn't be crazy. But that's what they're going to need to do, because if they're in a similar spot to what they are now, I don't think there's any doubt about it that they're going to be trading Tarik Skubal. Yes, he will be a rental, but I think he would be a guy that would fit into the, like CC Sabathia to the
Yeah.
Brewers type trade, where he's just so good that he's probably going to get a huge return either way. But there's a huge sense of urgency that they have. I mean, they really need to have a great June, and they need to have a great, start to July. They don't really have the comfort, the luxury of waiting this whole season out and doing it, because you can't, sit on Tarik Skubal, potentially not getting anything for him if you're 5 or 6 games out come the deadline. So I think that's definitely, and all these national beat writers and everyone seems like all they've talked about really is, what team's going to trade for Tarik Skubal over the last year or two. It's been a huge story. So
Well,
they have a lot of
Skubal,
pressure on them to win
oh
immediately.
yeah. When Skubal first got injured, I remember making a comment to a friend of mine. I said, the only upside of it, potentially, you might know where I'm going with this, is that maybe his value, this is before we knew he was going to be back, maybe
Yeah,
his
because it kind
value
of looked
goes
like he was going to
down.
be injured. I thought when
Right.
he first got injured, he was going to miss
The
the whole
season
deadline,
potentially,
and then they'd be
the whole
totally screwed.
right. And I thought, maybe there's the potential of that. And it's sort of like, yeah, but Tarik Skubal's the kind of talent where even if he's injured, he'll still, at least in free agency, he'll still fetch a huge
Yeah,
contract. Now it's sort of like, it seems like the Tigs are kind of in this situation where they're kind of teetering, like, we'll see if we're going to be kind of trading Tarik for, if we're trading him at all.
yeah.
One, two, you're trading him for prospects of the future, or do you hang on to him and potentially try to load up? And it's like, well, we'll have him for one last run here. I want to shift. Casen, have you followed the Guardians much this year? I want to ask. I know at
The
times.
second place Guardians as
Yeah,
of
that's
today.
kind of what I
The
wanted to point out
White
because
Sox
every
are in
time we have
first.
you on, James, it's like I can't talk about the Tigers. We have to also talk about the Guardians, the forever dance of the AL Central.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I haven't followed them super closely, but I mean, from what I've been able to see, it's kind of the typical, Cleveland, like semi competitive, but also not really as good as they could be if they actually cared.
That's a pretty fair
Story
assessment,
forever,
That's a fair
honestly.
assessment of them. Yeah,
as the Dolan family. The yeah, I mean
the other Dolan
they
family.
yeah they I mean they've fallen
They're
to
having a
second.
good season, honestly. It's just
They're
to your
Um,
point, it's ownership, if anything, but I mean, for
yeah,
what their roster
exactly.
is, I don't think anyone can be like, oh yeah, they're underachieving. Like, no, they've had a pretty
they're
good year, but
they're
yeah,
pretty
you got to be
solid.
frustrated if
I
it's
think
like
they're
spend a
I
little bit and we could be great.
my larger point was they're underachieving because if they did just spend a little bit more, then
Yeah,
they actually could be very good.
I agree.
But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, as of now, I mean, you've got some of the mainstays, maybe, particularly being a little less productive on offense as they used to be, as some of the core guys are getting older. But and then, as there's a lot of youth coming into the team now.
Yeah, there's
Uh,
some really good young players,
The
honestly.
It's interesting to hear you say that, Casen, because I can tell you guys both that obviously the Pirates spent a bit of money this offseason, and it feels like the Buccos have spent like just enough to be where Cleveland's baseline is most years. Like
yeah,
I'm sitting here, I'm like, hey man, 2 games above 500. Yeah, we've got a little bit of a slide. Like the Pirates are beating the teams they're supposed to and losing to the teams they're supposed to. Had an
yeah,
incredible, actually last night and Wednesday night.
I was gonna say that was
It was
that had to be like I was gonna come out like that had to be one of the most electric Pirates regular season wins in a long
in a
time,
long time.
honestly.
So I
Just
have
because the game itself was unbelievable, but just like
absolutely.
it was a relevant win too.
So I have a few. I have a couple of stats that I did find today, and it was time, and I was like, "Wow, that's cool." That was the first comeback win for the Pirates from 5 runs or more from the seventh inning on since 2013. Okay.
And it was
And it
against
was
Otani was pitching, who
Otani
has
was
like a
pitching. You
under one
you
ERA.
you had Skeens against Otani days after Skeens was, I don't know if you guys saw, literally helping out a practice at a little
I
league
did
where he
see
just
that.
showed
Yeah.
up,
That
which
was sweet.
which I will say, the field he was at, I know where that is. I've been there. It is actually really cool. I was like, oh wow, so I could have just gone down there and seen Skeens. I mean, I was here, I was in Ohio, I wasn't there, but I was in Pittsburgh over the weekend. But it was really cool to see that. Whenever we all love that. I don't care if you're that could be for a team that I don't like. That could have been a Reds player, and I've been like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. We love stuff like that. Casually
Libby
plays
loved it
catch.
too. She was
She
crying,
did.
and
She
that was
did.
great.
She was crying. It was great. He goes out there. He's like, okay, I'm gonna play catch with these kids, teach them a few things, spend 2 hours signing, and then, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna go face Otani tomorrow night. Like it's nothing. This is my day job. It's what I do. The splinter pitch he has or whatever. The Pirates have been great. It's been fun to see guys like Ryan O'Hearn from the O's, of course, but Jake Mangum, or excuse me, Magnum. No,
Born
Mangum. No, no.
Brave, by the way.
Um, what's
I know a
up?
lot of folks that know Jake Mangum,
Oh,
and from
he
all
was born
accounts, he's
brave.
an incredible individual.
He was the one he was the one who kind of went viral by throwing the ball to the kids who
Yeah,
logged
great
earlier this
guy.
year.
Supposedly like the
Um,
greatest guy ever.
but Jared Trullo and Brandon Lau getting those guys. So it was sort of like, and of course Marcelo Zuna, who has been good when he's been able to play this year. But my take is they finally got a few bats to go with their pretty loaded rotation. And right now, especially with the Cubs going on the slide they did, to be fair, they were banged up like the Tigers, James.
Yeah.
Right now, I just kind of want the Pirates to just kind of stay the course. Just show me there's something at the end of the year. I think most Bucco fans are in this mode of just waiting for the inevitable collapse. I'll be honest, like this year, I'm kind of like, look, if a collapse even happens this year, like I won't even be as mad because at least management went out, actually got some good talent. It seems to be coming together pretty good. And my thoughts are, if you just make the postseason, you never know what could happen, especially when you got Skeens, Bubba Chandler, and a healthy Jared Jones, and even Ashcraft when he's having a good night. So I'm kind of sitting here like, well, I mean, who knows? It's been fun to see what would happen, and I'm like, at a time when, of course, we're staring down the barrel of such a rough lockout situation where the owners have already said they want a salary cap. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. A floor, though, maybe. I'm like, it's nice to see that this could be our lives every year if Bob Nutting and others would spend at least even this amount every summer. That's my two
Yeah, no,
cents on the Buccos.
I mean, I've been watching the Pirates, following them pretty closely this year. I mean, I think they're a pretty legit team. I think they're basically across the board, like any stat you look at, they have a top five offense. I
Mhm.
think they're last I checked a couple days ago, they're like top three in total runs scored. Their OPS, they're right there in the top six or seven. Really everything. Slugging percentage, OPS, on base percentage. I think they're actually either one in Major League Baseball or top three for sure. And, everyone knows about the strength of their starting pitching. The one point I was going to bring up about the Tigers, which is the two things similar about which these two teams, the Tigers and Pirates, the things that have maybe plagued them the most is their bullpens. I think the
Yeah.
Tigers are second in Major League Baseball in blown saves. They've blown a million of them, and I know the Pirates are maybe a game or two behind that. They're also in the top five, but they're which is
And the
those are
Pirates,
tough games to lose. Like
Skeens has gotten knocked around a bit this year too. He's
yeah,
not. He's like, and which is to be expected. The guys
yeah,
have seen him throw. It's like, okay, that second or third time through the lineup is getting a little harder this year. And he's got. I
for
mean,
sure.
he got lit up against like the Blue Jays a few weeks ago. So I mean, it was like, okay, well, all right, this is going to happen. You're going to
Yeah,
have these. But yeah, I mean, it's to be expected. And so I think if the Buccos can stay the course, to see them looking this good still in June gives me a lot of hope and praise. Ironically, whenever we play the Dodgers, we tend to look great. That's like historically, like in the recent years, always been the case. Even with that, even their great years, the Pirates always seem to play the Dodgers really, really well, and they play the Braves poorly. So that explains kind of the last
Yeah, they've had a
five
brutal
games or
schedule
so.
as of late. I mean,
Yeah,
play the Braves right into playing the Dodgers. I mean,
yeah,
any
and so
team is probably going to lose a number of those.
so you gotta so if they can stay the course, I'm just hoping that we're within striking distance of the wild card and for the division at the
Yeah,
end. Kind of transitioning a little bit. I still got Milwaukee coming out of the Central.
yeah.
I like it's just how it goes, man. They just seemingly even now they lead things, and
I
it
mean, they have
feels
a
like
huge lead
they
already.
have a huge lead
They've been
already.
incredible.
And it just seems like that the rest of us are going to be battling out. You know, for a while there, we were the only like for about 2 weeks ago, the NL Central was the only division where everyone had a winning record, more like 3 weeks ago, really. But now I'm kind of sitting here saying, okay, it could be a really really wild battle for the wild card, is what I'm feeling. I'm with
I
you.
agree.
The AL has been brutal. I heard a conversation today between a Rays and a Yankees fan about how it's like, all right, well, I guess it's the race of destiny of whoever wants to the ultimate mid off of who wants to win the AL East.
I mean, yeah,
But
to
the
what you just
Yankees are
said,
banged up too.
all
Judge
the
is
teams with
out.
the winning records in the NL Central, I don't know what it's up to now, but there was a while where there was only like, and I know it's not a ton, there's only like 5 or 6 teams, if that, with a winning record total in the AL.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the NL, I mean the NL Central. What I will say, I think you're right. I mean that Milwaukee, just they're gonna win the division again. It just seems automatic. I think that to what you said, the NL wild card could be incredible this year because really I'm
Mhm.
looking at the list right now. I mean, St. Louis, I will say, I could be totally wrong on this. Like, I'm not buying it. I think St. Louis is, no one projected St. Louis to
Interesting.
be good. Like, no one likes their roster at all. I think they're punching way above their weight class. I mean, I think it's a little bit similar to the White Sox. If I had to guess right now, I don't think either of those two teams make the playoffs. Maybe I'm wrong, the White Sox and the Cardinals.
I think the White Sox are pretenders for sure. I'm
Yeah,
too afraid of
we'll
the
see though.
Cardinals to say
They're great
otherwise.
story. The White Sox are a great story. They might be the best story in baseball right now. But
Hmm.
yeah, the Cardinals, I believe, I'll say this. I believe in the Pirates like night and day more than I believe in the Cardinals. I think their
Wow.
team in general is across the board. I think the Pirates have a better roster than the Cardinals. Look at some of these other teams. It's so loaded. Like even the Mets are kind of like in the Tigers spot where they're like 5 games out and have had like a totally disastrous season. And like if they were like 10 games out, you could probably write them off, but they're like a good week or two from getting back in it.
When the
Um,
Mets are bad, it's funny. I will
it
say.
is, yeah, and
Very funny when the Mets are terrible.
they've been a total disaster. But no, I think that there's teams in the NL Central that, and then the Cubs, who I
Yep.
would pick to win the division every year, and they never do it, and they're kind of right there in the wild card. I think they're a
The Cubs are
game,
going to get
game and a
healthy
half
and
out.
come screaming back like in
Yeah,
August. They
and they're a
always do.
team that
Yeah.
they're going to want to be. The thing that could make it interesting in the NL too is a lot of these teams in that wild card race, like the Phillies, the Padres, the Cubs. Those are all teams that at least you would expect to be pretty aggressive at the deadline. So who knows how that shapes things out. And then you have teams like Arizona, who I think is pretty good, even though they're not going to get a lot of buzz about them. But yeah, I think the NL has been way more entertaining to watch so far.
The Padres, Casen, anything to comment? I don't, and you haven't been, I don't want you to, I always want us to talk over you.
No, I don't, have a ton to add to the insight that James is offering. Uh,
I know you're not as big on personnel as we are. I was gonna say to both you guys, the Padres might have my favorite baseball player who's not a Pirate, and that's Mason Miller, Pittsburgh zone.
He's incredible.
He's easily like Bethel Park zone, Waynesburg College, Gardner Webb zone. Mason Miller, just all the stuff I heard about him when I was at GWU. One of my more thrilling things was that when he did get offloaded from the Athletics, I was very, very hoping that was be the case. But, um, I mean, I was even seeing a breakdown this morning, kind of in prep for this show, but also kind of that he has like a pitch that's considered unhittable, like his curve that's like goes like in. I guess it's technically a slurve, goes down and in. I was just like, yeah, I mean, just the movement so late
And
is
then he
just the kind
throws
of
like 104
Yep,
like his fastball. It's like,
his
what
fastball.
are you supposed to do?
Yeah, what are you supposed to do? But we're in the mode now where all-star voting has kind of begun. Not kind of begun, it has begun. Um, I want to ask y'all, James, what do you see shaking out here? And I'll honestly just give you the floor. You can pick your division winners. You already picked one. And then I can pick mine as well. And then, Casey, you can pick yours if you want. And then we can kind of talk about. And then from there, let's just pick World Series because I think
Yeah.
that's the easier way to roll.
Yeah, well, I'll lead it into Casen here. I mean, I have to pick the Guardians to win the division. I mean, the Tigers right
Mm.
now are 8 games back. I think talking about the wild card with the Tigers isn't crazy. I think they could be maybe 4.5 back by the end of the day if some of the other results go their way. But to say 8 games back that they're going to win the division, I think that's a crazy ask. Even though over the last couple of years, they've been the team that has blown a huge lead and come back from a huge lead. So, who knows how the rest of their season will go. But I'm just not quite there with the White Sox. They've been a great story. I'd be surprised if like 60 games from now, they're still in like a great position. Their roster is certainly competitive. They have a lot of young guys. They did great with the Garrett Crochet trade, which they kind of got hammered for in real time because
Mm.
Crochet has been like a top 3 Cy Young type guy, but they got a lot of big time prospects returning, including the guy that I think just hit a walk off home run the other 2 days ago for his first home run in his career, Braden Montgomery, which is really cool. But yeah, I got to go with Cleveland. I think the East is a good race, but I know Kellan would always hear me talk about like the A's, like when the Tigers would always beat them in the playoffs. The Rays are incredible for what they are, but I can't take them as like a true World Series type team. I think I'll just give the benefit of the doubt most years in the East in the regular season to the Yankees. It'll be interesting though to see what Aaron Judge right now is hurt. And I mean, there was kind of like a week where he was like in limbo and not playing, and there was a lot of speculation of how long is he going to be out. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on because if it does turn into something that
The
is really serious, like that totally changes the Yankees season.
the
So
Blue Jays were a story last year too. We'll see if they can catch the guys at the top. They're
yeah,
only down by 9 games, so I mean, we'll see.
yeah. They're another team though right now in the wild card that I'm looking at where they're a game out of the wild card. And if I don't really believe in some of these teams like Cleveland and Texas,
Hmm.
Toronto is certainly a team that I would probably predict that they're probably too far out in the East, but certainly a team that I think, especially after what they did last year, which I think is a good segment to the West with Seattle, which is a team that I came on here, I think at multiple times, Seattle and the Blue Jays, who just nothing really seemed to be amounting for those teams. And then even last year, Toronto was in probably a very similar spot in the standings as they are now and had a crazy end of the season finish. But
Right.
both those teams, their runs last year in the playoffs, I think that does a lot for them. And I like both their rosters. So I would take Seattle it's a tight division right now between really all those teams. Seattle, the A's, and Astros really are in Texas are all right there. So that could be a pretty competitive division, but I'll give the nod to Seattle just with what they did last year.
Jason, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I
Yeah.
I think I have obviously Cleveland winning the Central and the Yankees with the East. And I didn't really feel any particular way about the West, but uh, yeah, I mean, I not to completely piggyback, but I definitely agree about the Mariners. They definitely, I think, yeah, I think Seattle feels like the best option.
I will.
Um,
I'll agree with you guys on the Mariners. Although I do believe Texas can catch them. I've been a believer in the Rangers in the last few years. I think the White Sox will fall off. I agree. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Guardians as well. However, that's the thing about talking about this in June. There's been enough to kind of see where it is, but there's enough of a wiggle room to see like some change. So
100 games left,
there's
basically.
100 games left. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of time for things to go completely belly up or badly. But
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and pick the Rays, particularly in the East. Maybe this is one of those years where they just go on a weird run, and maybe the absence of Judge buries the Yankees a bit more than
They'll
they were
win like
expecting.
110 games and then get like swept in the wild card. The
Yes,
Rays.
that
Probably honestly, like that could
that's
easily
honestly what'll
happen.
happen. I mean, just
Yeah.
they are one of, if not, they're a top five organization in baseball in the last 20 years. I mean, they
Yeah.
really are. 20 to 25, 30 years, at least in our
They're
lifetime.
another like what Casen was saying with the Guardians. Like imagine if the Rays like spent like the Yankees or something. Like in theory, they would be
Hmm.
like unbeatable because they have these roster of nobodies, but they win 90 games every year. It's like the Brewers.
I'll go
You know,
ahead and
they
pick the.
trade their
Oh yeah,
ace, Freddie Peralta, because he's going on a contract year. And here they are again. They're 20 games above 500. So it's
oh yeah.
amazing what some of these teams do, and they have no interest in really spending at the level that a lot of other teams do.
I'll go ahead and pick the NL, and I'll make it a quick one, just because, and I'll let you go ahead, James, and then you can do a case because I think the Braves have the potential to run away with the NL East this year, mainly because the Phillies stumbled out of the block so hard this year,
Yeah.
and while they've kind of figured it out over the last like month or so, they just I think that while I think they could catch the Braves, I don't necessarily think they have it in them to win the division this year. I think the Braves are at least as of now probably the best chance to dethrone in the NL the Dodgers. I really
I
like what I
agree.
saw this past weekend. My first real good look at them, and I'm like, man, they're so tough to beat.
They look like the
Um,
Braves from a couple years ago. Like last year, they
exactly.
were injury plagued, but 2 years ago, this is exactly what they looked like. Or
This
they
is
were just like
exactly
a
what they looked
juggernaut.
like. I mean, they just looked unbeatable. So it was just like making good teams like the Pirates right now look like they have no chance. I'll pick the Dodgers out west. The race to take a look at, while I will pick the Brewers, is in the Central. Because if you told me that any of the four out of nowhere, all of us sitting around, obviously the Brewers are 41 and 25. Cardinals have 37 wins. Pirates have 35 wins. Cubs have 35 wins. Reds are 32 and 35. Like we're all right in there, and no one's really buried yet. So the NL Central could be fun. That's all I'll say. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I think right now the NL, at least the divisions, I think the teams that are leading them right now, I'd take them, and it's not saying a lot. I mean, they have decent leads. Milwaukee, as you said, has the smallest of the three, but they also are the team that just seems the most automatic in the regular season in terms of just they're going to win their division, and the playoffs are a different story. And honestly, to their defense, I mean, it's hard to say, oh, yeah, they're not winning the World Series, like having to play like the Dodgers and Braves and the Phillies and
Mm.
all these teams that are spending like crazy and really want to win. But I think the NL wild card will be really interesting. I talked about some of these teams that are there that I'm expecting to spend. I mean, you talked about the Phillies. They got off, I think they were 9-19 start, and then they fired their manager. And now they're 6 games above 500 already, which is
Yep.
pretty amazing. I mean, they're anything other than a complete disaster of a start away from probably being, you
Probably
know,
right there with the
yeah,
Braves, if
probably
not.
like the second best
Yeah.
team behind or right there with the Braves and Dodgers. So, I like them to still make the playoffs, and their general manager, who's the former Tigers general manager when they went to their World Series, Dave Dombrowski is
Dombrowski.
probably the most aggressive general manager in Major League Baseball. So I fully expect them to probably make at least one big splash at the deadline. I'm going to give some credit to the Padres too. I think they're a team that's super aggressive and have a good roster. Mason Miller at the back end of their bullpen is, I mean, as true of a game shortener as there is. I mean, if you have a lead into the eighth inning, especially in the playoffs, I mean, they could run him out for 6 outs and easily get a win at
Yeah.
the end of the game if they need it. And a big game in the regular season, they're not afraid to unleash him. And they're a team that has been super aggressive at the deadline as well. And then for the last spot, I think there's a lot of teams in here that are worthy of being discussed. But give me the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think this could be like, there's no reason not to believe in the Pirates this year. I mean, I talked about every stat, they're top five. I mean, I think that's as important as anything. I mean, if you can score a bunch of runs, especially in the major leagues, you're never out of a game. You can score 8 to 10 runs. You're probably going to win every game you play in, and you have this rotation, which is pretty formidable to face any of these guys, really, even down to their, they had to. I'm blanking on the one guy's name, but the like Mizorowski or whatever, who they basically had to like cut from the team because Jared Jones was going to come back, and they have so many good options at starting pitcher, even beyond Paul Skeens, that really does you a lot of favors.
Mitch Keller too was the guy that I didn't mention earlier. I might have to clip that, by the way, James.
Yeah, give me the Pittsburgh Pirates to make the playoffs.
I might have to clip that.
Why not? Like,
you just wish
the Cubs are gonna.
You've never done that. You've never picked both of our teams, specifically Casen and I, to win the division.
The Cubs are gonna choke. Arizona, Miami. I already said St. Louis is not in the same caliber. Cincinnati is even worse than St. Louis. So, I mean, I think the Pirates are better than both those two teams. The Mets, maybe if the Mets were like a couple of games in the wild card and I could bank on them doing something big, but they're 5.5 out. I mean, the Pirates are 5 games ahead of the Mets. I mean, that's a decent amount. So another shout out I have to give with the Pirates, Don Kelly.
Don Kelly's the man. Yeah,
literally, Don Kelly is Jim Leyland. Like, they're the same exact person.
And when Casen, if you recall, when he was on here, James, at the beginning of the season last year, he said, "Man, they should really consider Don Kelly to be that manager." And then eventually, what happened? Shelton got fired, and Don Kelly became the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I'm not even kidding when I say this. Don Kelly was like the last player on the roster on all these Tigers teams, like the early 2010s teams that made the World Series. And Jim Leyland's favorite probably player he's ever managed. I think Jim Leyland, he might just, because it is what it is, he might say like Cabrera or Verlander, but like Don Kelly is probably his favorite player of all time.
That's really
cool. He got so much criticism for like, it'd be like, game like do or die game 5 of the ALDS at Yankee Stadium. Like, we got Miguel Cabrera, Prince Fielder, we got all these Hall of Famers. We're gonna pull him off the bench, and Don Kelly is gonna hit leadoff and start, and like Tigers fans go insane. And he hit a leadoff home run in that game. And then in the press conference, Jim Leyland's like crying, being like, like Miguel Cabrera, everyone knows he's amazing, but Don Kelly will always remember this moment. And literally watching these two guys, like he's literally Jim Leyland. It's insane. He goes crazy all the time and gets ejected.
He does.
Which is my favorite thing about Jim Leyland. Like, if anything was even slightly like felt like his team was wrong, like he's not having it, and he's going to go absolutely crazy. And players, I think, really jive with that, and I think he really inspires his clubhouse. And it's insane how it's just Jim Leyland 2.0. Jim Leyland, I've said, is my favorite coach of all time. He's my
you've said that multiple times for sure.
Figure, arguably ever. I love Jim Leyland. So seeing what Don Kelly has done, and it's just a reincarnation of Jim Leyland, has been probably easily my favorite thing about the Pirates so far.
Casen, you want to go ahead and pick the NL, and then we can just talk World Series matchups?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like what James said. I don't think the NL is going to be too shocking. I mean, I have the Braves, Brewers, and Dodgers just because I don't think, but I not surprisingly, I will say, kind of moving on to the World Series. I've got the Braves.
Okay.
The Braves?
I will say
Braves. I will say them.
I like it.
The Braves versus the Tariq Skubal-led Guardians.
Wow. That'd be hilarious. That's incredible.
Clip that too. I'm going to write that down. Specifically, Tariq Skubal. That'd be crazy if they traded him within the division.
They trade him to the Cleveland and they win. Oh my God. I'd stop following sports, honestly, if that happens. Like Tarek Skubal, I
And
might say
stop
Tarek
following
Skubal's
sports, he says.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Tarek Skubal's probably, and it's already horrific that I've basically had to deal with the reality that he's not going to be like for multiple years. I've kind of just assumed he's going to be gone. Yeah, they trade him to Cleveland and then they win the World Series. I'm sorry, like I'm done with sports
I
for a little bit.
that,
That would
that
be horrific.
if they even make it, James, that would be horrible.
what would be worse, like that or Dylan Larkin going wherever he goes and winning a Stanley Cup?
Yeah,
I
Going to
mean,
like the
I mean,
Blackhawks.
at least
yeah,
with the Red
yeah,
Wings,
going,
like
yeah,
the Red Wings are at least the one Detroit team that I've like got to like experience be like kind of a dominant force and like actually do
yeah.
something. So I wouldn't be as upset with that. But yeah, I've never seen the Tigers win the World Series. And if, I mean, it's something horrific happening with the Lions. I mean, the crazy part is I was such a big Matthew Stafford fan that I was happy for him to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Lions fans that I'm sure there is that are like, that's kind of brutal that he immediately won the Super Bowl after leaving the Lions. But that was a different scenario, and that a
At
lot of
least it
people,
wasn't for the Packers or something.
yeah, like
Yeah,
it would take
yeah.
something like honestly, it would take like if the Bears would have won the Super
Hmm.
Bowl last year, not that, and hey, I shout out to Josh. I was texting him during the season. Honestly, all I could think about with the Bears being amazing was how happy I was for Josh. But
Me
yeah, if
too.
like Ben Johnson leaves year one and wins the Super Bowl after being that'd be a classic Detroit, like, of course, thing to happen. Like that's in the same line as like Scooble goes to Cleveland and wins the Super Bowl or it wins the World Series. Like, of course
Yeah.
that happened.
Trust me, guys,
Yeah.
it was disgusting enough to see Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines at the Steelers like
Oh
OTAs,
my gosh,
I
yeah.
texted to people, I'm like, they beat us in a Super Bowl. Like I don't
Yeah,
like
Honestly,
this.
I'd still
yeah,
revoke that and be like, the
yeah,
Packers winning the Super Bowl would still be incredibly, and it'd still
Yeah,
probably be annoying. That'd be
in
number like,
any context, that would be
yeah,
horrible. I like the pick for the Braves, and here's my thing: I've gone on and said that three-peats don't happen in sports. I also will pick the Braves. I think maybe this is a year where they have an all-time classic NLCS with the Dodgers. I love playoff
mhm.
baseball too. It's always so fun whenever I get to have you on here, James, talk about it. It's the best time of the year in sports, October. Um, I think some teams like the Padres can make some noise or whatever. Who knows? Maybe the Pirates might mess around in the postseason against and take a few. But in the AL, hard to say right now because I don't love any team at the top. I don't love any team at the top, but I'll go on a limb and say the Mariners make it through. They bust through and somehow keep the Seattle sports train going of the last year and change they had from going from incredible run that ended in the postseason for the Mariners last year. Sorry, James, that it was against your Tigers to winning the
that's
Super
crazy
Bowl
series.
against one of the worst teams ever to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yes,
Yeah, truly.
I agree.
The Mariners at least make it there, and if that happens, I don't know, 4-game sweep at Atlanta. I don't know.
I
All right.
love that whole prediction. Similar to what you said, I'm looking at the AL. I'm like, man, like who can I pick and feel like any sort of confidence? So I feel like this would be my favorite way to go about it. I am gonna pick the Dodgers to get to the World Series, just because they've ruined.
Mhm.
We're gonna have a lockout because of them. They've ruined baseball. They're gonna win
We
probably
are.
gonna win again, as I'll get to. But I'll go with the Yankees to get there, and it'll be like Aaron Judge gets healthy. They have this great run against a cupcake American League, and all the Yankees fans are going to be. So they'll probably win all these games. It'll be like sweep one of the series. Maybe they sweep the ALCS, get to the World Series. All the Yankees fans will be like going crazy. This is going to be the year, and then they get swept by the Dodgers, and it's not even remotely
Close.
competitive. They don't have a lead for not one inning of the entire series. Aaron Judge like strikes out like 15 times, and the Dodgers totally dismantle the Yankees, and it's not even close. And Yankees fans, I think I was texting Kellan this last season. One of my favorite outside of Toledo and Todd Kowalczyk losing in Cleveland in the men's basketball tournament, outside of that yearly tradition, probably my favorite thing to watch is when the Yankees are it's inevitable that the Yankees are going to lose. Like it's an elimination game. They're down like 3, 4, 5 runs in the ninth inning. And every other pitch, they just show a Yankees fan who just is like completely devastated. They'll show Judd strike out and immediately pan to like 3 Yankees fans who just like
Dude,
throw their hats over their heads or
the
something.
best
It's
ever.
like,
I was watching live when Vlad Guerrero Jr. hit the grand slam last year in the playoffs. It was already 5-0 Jays, and then he hits the grand slam, and then they just beelined it right to the Yankees dugout.
yeah,
And every one of those guys was just
honestly, the producers have kind of gotten ruthless with how much they show like crowd reactions in general in sports, but I, for some reason, seem to love it when it's Yankees fans and they're like minutes away from getting eliminated. So I hope to see that happen again.
What do you got, Casen? You look like you were ready to say something.
I was just saying that was hilarious.
Well, to be expected. Well, there you have it, folks. That's where we have it of our June predictions or Jim Nye, the baseball guy. The last thing I'll leave you guys with: World Cup starts like now, basically.
Yeah.
Who's winning it? That's all I got. Last pick. I think Spain's winning it, but I just the World Cup's on our continent. How crazy is that?
So Mexico did win the first game, by the way. I was just going to check.
That was in Mexico City.
End during the show.
That was in Mexico
one more
City.
game later tonight, and then the U.S. obviously tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, do you know what? This is gonna be absolutely horrific pick that has no chance of happening. But give me the USA. I have a known thing where the USA, when you really think about it, we're basically incredible in everything. Like all these Olympics, like these incredible Olympians, all these sports, like we're great at basketball, like football. Now we're even winning everything in hockey. Like we're pretty successful at all of this, but in the US women's team is like the greatest show on turf. Like they're incredible. But the men's team, I don't understand how they like they just can't get it done at all. Like if they get to the round of 16, it would be like an incredible.
They're going to win the final. They're going to win the final in PKs, and then they're going to bring Landon Donovan out of nowhere.
Oh my God!
Carry him off the field.
Yeah, Tim Howard is going to come out of retirement and get a shutout in the World Cup final, and the U.S. is somehow, after never really posing much of a threat to do anything beyond the group stage, maybe it gets rigged because it's on U.S. soil. I don't know. But the U.S. somehow wins the World Cup.
Like the
Messi, Mbappe, all of them.
You know the B-Dubs overtime button. Can we just do that for all the
every round?
It's going to take a coordinated effort of every Buffalo Wild Wings in America at the same time clicking the button, and somehow the goalie will like sneeze and the goal will go through his legs and will win.
Trip on a sprinkler.
Dude, I'll leave this. Some of the most fun I ever had was watching the run in 2014. It's like when I became like a kind of soccer fan. Also, just living with James in college, so like, that was like fun. So I always associate the World Cup. It always takes me back to then, So it's gonna be fun. We'll probably talk more about that. James, thank you so much for joining us, man, for yet another voyage on the Junction here. We always appreciate your insight, brother.
Hey, I think we've normally done once the playoffs start. So, Tarek Skubal versus the Guardians or Tarek Skubal versus the Tigers, round 1 of the wild card. Who knows? There's going to be something crazy. The NL Central has been too crazy, or the AL Central has been too ridiculous the last 2 or 3 years for it just nothing too interesting to happen. Something insane is going to happen. So maybe Casen is on to something by predicting Tarek Skubal going.
We absolutely do not need to trade for pitchers, though.
They'll somehow do it. It'll make no sense.
Consider this your proverbial fuse that's been lit from now to the deadline to potentially the beginning of the postseason, where we'll definitely be hearing from you at games, James.
And the Pirates trade for Tarek Skubal.
That would be actually insane. That
They
would
were one of the
yeah.
9 teams that had a they were in it. They were on the list.
That would
of
be
making a
like
trade.
that would give me the experience again, like when the Pirates traded out of nowhere for Chris Archer, and I immediately got 10 text messages.
That was great. I
that
remember
that
that.
happened. Then of course it
Yeah.
ended up being like the worst trade in Pirates history. Not really, but one of them. But dang it,
Hey, they went
Neil
for it and it was
Huntington went for
exciting.
it. He went for it. I
Yeah.
can't. No one can be mad at the man for going for it. So,
Spend
uh,
nothing, win nothing.
the,
Great sign that I saw that one time.
Ben Nutting, win nutting is what that said.
Yes.
Jason, the shirt, quite frankly, which
That
you
is
can
a
still get, by the
classic.
way. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening, watching. This is Kellan,
This is Casen.
And this is James.
and we'll see you as always at the next stop.